What's up, y'all? It's Celeste. I'm at the point now where I'm still getting read as female the vast majority of the time out in public, but I am occasionally getting read as male, which is really cool. And also frequently kind of feel like people are looking at me weird, like they're either not sure or they're not really sure whether I should be somewhere that I am, which probably some of that I'm kind of imagining or like being paranoid about. But it definitely is happening somewhat. Like one time I went to a store and was trying on clothes. I took my clothes, which were men's clothes, to the women's dressing room, and the attendants there and also the other people that were like waiting to go into the dressing rooms all kind of looked at me like they weren't really sure whether I belonged there, and it just made me feel kind of weird. So this definitely is a thing that's happening. I'm not entirely imagining it, but I am probably overblowing it in my mind. But anyway, because of all this, I have started to feel really weird about public bathrooms, which are kind of one of the obviously like most high profile issues for trans people in the media and stuff, or issues about trans people more often. But up until this point, it hasn't really been an issue for me because I was always read as female, and annoyingly so, but that allowed me to go into the women's room and like not feel like anybody was looking at me weird or thought that maybe I shouldn't be there or anything like that. So it has become kind of a point of discomfort for me because I don't really feel like I belong in the women's room. For one thing, I don't want to make anyone else uncomfortable, and I don't want to risk like causing any issues or having anybody like start something with me or whatever, which is probably not very likely to happen, especially here where I live. I don't live in like a super conservative area, but it's not unheard of, and it definitely is a risk. So it's something that I definitely want to avoid. But also if I'm somewhere and people see me choosing to go into the women's room, I feel like that's going to give them the idea that I want to be seen that way, or even if they know that I'm non-binary, they might get the message that I like lean more toward feminine or something, which I definitely don't. So it's just kind of an awkward situation. However, I don't really feel like I belong in the men's room either, nor do I really want to, because I've heard that it's a lot grosser in there, and just isn't really like a desirable place to be. So it's not like I really want to go in there. I did go in a multi-stall men's room for the first time about a month ago. Before that, I had only been in a single stall men's room, and even that I only did like once or twice because I don't know. I'm just like paranoid about this whole thing. It's a weird thing to be out in public and to be in places where you don't know what could happen, and it's just I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing to overcome for me, at least. So I did go in a men's room. It was empty, so there wasn't anything awkward or anything. But even like getting myself to go in there was like a big step, and it was kind of weird. And like, I don't know, like, I guess I feel like now that I've done that, I mentally like feel like I have the option of going into a men's room if I needed to. I still would probably not do that unless I absolutely had to, but it's nice to feel like I could, I guess. I think I would feel really weird if there were guys in there, just because like I said, am usually read as female. I think that if anybody saw me in there, they would think I maybe didn't belong. Maybe more than they would in the women's bathroom. I don't know. It's kind of hard because like I don't feel like I belong in either one, and I feel like either way I would kind of stick out and could be read as not belonging in there, just depending on the person and how they're looking at me, how they're seeing me. As far as like the layout and familiarity and everything, I'm fine in a women's room. What I don't like is the sign on the door and the other people in there, just because it kind of makes me feel awkward and like I don't belong. And so if I'm out somewhere and I absolutely have to use a bathroom and they only have men's and women's, then I'll go in the women's room. But I usually try to time it so that I'm the only one in there, or so that like if I hear somebody else come in while I'm in there, then I'll wait till they're completely done and out of the bathroom before I come out of the stall. I know that probably sounds silly to a lot of people, and it kind of is. But the point of this video is just to kind of talk about my experience here and talk about how I'm feeling and how I'm sort of navigating this new thing that has been really awkward and weird for me. It's not necessarily like me saying this is how it should be, or like that I feel like it's always going to feel like this. I'm sure it won't, but this is just how I feel right now. For me, the best option is when they have single stall bathrooms, which may still be labeled men's and women's, but a lot of times are not labeled or are just like family restroom or something like that. Those are the best. Everywhere should have those. Those are amazing. I love single stall bathrooms. Every bathroom should be single stall. It would make my life a lot easier. So those are kind of the holy grail of public bathrooms for me. For places that don't have that, I'm increasingly trying to just avoid going to the bathroom at all, which is very inconvenient a lot of times. Like, I just started taking a fitness class, which is at a trampoline park, and in that, like, within a few minutes of bouncing up and down on a trampoline, you kind of have to go to the bathroom. Like, it's kind of a thing that happens, and like, within a few minutes, several other people in the class would like run to go to the bathroom real quick and then come back. And I don't feel like I can do that because this particular place, at least, the bathrooms, they only have men and women, and they are at the very front of the whole building, and everybody can see you going in and out, so everybody would know which one I was going into. And I'm already, like, I've only been to this class twice, and I have been misgendered by other people in the class, and I haven't corrected them yet. So I don't really want to, like, reinforce that by going in the women's bathroom, and I don't know, it's just a whole thing. Plus, there are, like, always other people going in and out of the bathroom, so I would be pretty unlikely to be in there by myself, and there probably would be people with kids in there, which I feel like makes it even more likely that if somebody had a problem that they would get, like, really protective and, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just, like, totally paranoid about this, but just based on, like, kind of the mainstream dialogue that we're having about bathrooms and trans people, it seems like that's a big fear that a lot of people have, and I don't necessarily think that I would be seen as, like, male or even, like, even necessarily seen as trans or anything, but I don't know, it's just kind of an awkward thing that I just don't really want to risk something happening. So that's one example, and like any other time that I'm like out running errands for a while, or like if I go to like a show, like a play or a movie or something like that, I just try to hold it the whole time, and that's really uncomfortable. And it also means that I am drinking less water when I'm out places because I don't want to have to go to the bathroom, so that's probably not that good for me. Hey, Editor Celeste here. I actually went to a play a couple nights ago at the Dr. Phillips Center in Orlando, and I just wanted to show you the family restroom there because it was pretty impressive. It was definitely the biggest single-stall restroom I think I've ever been in, and I just wanted to throw that into this video because it was kind of timely. A couple of times I've come out of the women's room and like met somebody's eyes that's like coming in to the bathrooms or something, and I felt really embarrassed, which is kind of weird, but it just feels like by going into the women's room, I am like doing something out of alignment with myself and how I'm trying to present to the world. And because of that, it feels wrong. Not necessarily like morally wrong. It just feels like wrong to me to be in a women's space of any kind. Even if no one says anything, I know I'm in a space I don't belong in. And that feels really alienating. And it makes me feel both like invisible and hypervisible at the same time. So I know it seems like I should just be like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom, so I'm just going to go in whichever one. But it's not just like that I want to go in one of the bathrooms and I feel insecure about it. Like, it's not like I don't feel like I pass well enough as male to go into the men's bathroom. Like, I don't really want to go in the men's bathroom, but I also don't really want to go in the women's bathroom. I feel like either way, I feel like I'm betraying myself, and I also feel like I am in a space that's not meant for me. Either way, I feel like when I'm in a shared space, this group that I'm a part of is one that is mostly just not considered as far as our needs or even our existence is concerned. So it's just kind of a reminder of that, like every time I go somewhere. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I don't really have like any kind of like big conclusion from this or anything. This is just kind of like me sharing my experience and sharing my feelings and kind of my current state of mind on bathrooms, which is a weird thing to be making a video about, but that's kind of what being trans is like, that these normal everyday things that most people take for granted are things that we don't necessarily have the option to do. Like, practically speaking, I feel like I'm still in a place where I can, for the most part. Like, I feel like for the most part, if I go in the women's bathroom, nobody's going to think anything of it. They're just going to think I'm a woman. They might think that I'm like a queer woman or something, like butch or something, but I don't think anybody would look at me and think that I was like completely in the wrong place or something. But I feel like because it is kind of this like ambiguous thing sometimes, and is seemingly moving more in that direction, which I'm thrilled about. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that I'm not constantly read as female all the time now, even though it is like still spread out. The fact that it happens at all now, that I'm called sir or something, is awesome, and I love it. But it does, like, the other side of that is that it does make some things awkward, and that is especially apparent in any kind of like gender segregated spaces. And the most common one of those that I interact with on any frequency really is public bathrooms. So if you are gender nonconforming in some way, I'd love to hear how you've navigated this, how you've dealt with this. Because I've talked to other people about this, and I've seen other people talking about this, but for the most part, most of the stuff I've seen has been from people who either are typically read as one or the other binary gender, or are trying to be read as one or the other, and like it's more of a matter of just like they want to go in the men's room, they want to be seen as male, but it's just like a matter of getting up the courage to feel like they belong there, or like that they have a right to be there. And a lot of times also, depending on their transition and like their expression, it often is a case where it's kind of like maybe now it's more ambiguous, but like eventually they can kind of expect that they are going to pass more as male. So like, let's say they're taking T like long term, they can expect that after a few years they'll probably have an easier time of passing in there. So it's kind of like get through the awkward part and eventually it won't be as much of a problem. But in my case, that's not really going to happen, because like while I am for some reason suddenly being read more ambiguously or read more masculine, even though I'm like not on T anymore, which is kind of weird. But like I am pretty much done medically transitioning at this point. Like I've already had top surgery and I'm not on T anymore, and I'm not likely to go back on as far as I know. So I don't really feel like there's going to be a point where I have moved to a position on this expression spectrum where I am reliably read as like male, and so therefore belong in the men's bathroom. And like I could go back the other way and I'm sure like present really feminine and belong in the women's bathroom, but I don't want to do that because that's not who I am. So it's just kind of a different situation than most of the things that I've seen about this topic. So anything you have to share would be great. Put it in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my future content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.